Shana Tova. For the last 8 years, I have been delighting in coming to the first evening of Rosh Hashanah, having learned something new for myself about the High Holy Days and particularly about Rosh Hashanah. The last few years, we've learned together about apples and honey and pomegranates and shofars and Rosh Hashanah seders, fish heads and ram's heads, and prayers that come only on this festival. This year, I found myself being curious about the Rosh Hashanah phenomenon of a 2-day festival. Inasmuch as Rosh Hashanah itself, with those words, is not mentioned in the Torah at all, but is in fact mentioned as a 1-day festival, the first day of the 7th month. It's some kind of festival. We see it in Leviticus 23 and in Numbers 29. In both places, it is mentioned briefly as a day of remembrance, a cessation of work, a sacred assembly, and a day on which the shofars were sounded. That's all we have in the Torah about this festival that grew into a pretty big deal over the centuries. Now, we might think at first glance, are we missing something? Should we read more deeply into those 2 verses in Leviticus and in Numbers? Maybe they do refer to 2 days and we just missed it. Perhaps in the Hebrew it's buried or in the meaning somewhere. No, my friends, it is not a 2-day festival in the Torah. You certainly know about certain holidays being observed for an additional day, whether you're inside the land of Israel or outside. In the diaspora, we celebrate certain holidays for 2 days. Shavuot, the first 2 days of Sukkot, etc. We add an extra day to Sukkot and, of course, an additional day to Passover. This is because in the ancient world, when the new moon was announced, it wasn't easy to know exactly when the new moon had come. In the very distant past, this must have been something to see. To determine that the new month had begun, the information would be broadcast from Jerusalem to distant Jewish outposts via huge bonfires that were lit on designated mountaintops. If anyone is a fan of Lord of the Rings, you will already recognize that experience of lighting the bonfires to send help. They asked for the men of Gondor to come, and they came. This is not a brand new idea that J.R.R. Tolkien came up with. In fact, this was the way that the new moon was announced. Lookouts stationed on other mountaintops would see the fires and would light their own fires, creating a chain of communication that led all the way to Babylon and even to more distant communities. It gives a wonderful feeling of anticipation, and I'm sure that was most exciting to see those bonfires lit. But a problem arose. The Samaritans, a sect that denied rabbinic authority and were constantly at odds with the mainstream Jews, started lighting fires on the wrong days in order to confuse people and manipulate the calendar. So, to alleviate the confusion, the fire on the mountaintop method of communication was discontinued, and instead, the more well-known method of messengers being dispatched all the way to Babylon and other far-flung Jewish settlements became the norm. Since news traveled a lot slower that way, distant communities would not know when the new month had been declared in time to celebrate festivals on the proper day. So it was decreed that outside the land of Israel, people would celebrate every holiday for 2 days. To get very smart about the Jewish calendar, you need an advanced degree in mathematics. And I will not dray you with the particulars of how all of that worked, because, my friends, I am still very much a beginner in working it out myself. However, Rosh Hashanah has been 2 days for centuries and centuries. And that's due to yet another of Rosh Hashanah's peculiarities. There are already quite a few, but Rosh Hashanah is absolutely unique inasmuch as it is the only holiday that begins on the first day of a Hebrew month. We might take that a little bit for granted. Since you're all here, you know when Rosh Hashanah is. But it is really unique in all of our Jewish calendar, all of our holidays, and isn't it wonderful how many we have, that Rosh Hashanah is the only one that starts in darkness. Through a series of very complex, creative, rabbinic discussions and agreements, it was determined and fixed that even the most traditional Jewish communities in Israel would honor Rosh Hashanah as 2 days. Authorities could automatically assign the end of the month, since they knew well when Elul was. They could designate the very end of the month as the first day of the holiday. No one needed to light bonfires or send messengers, it just was. And then the first day of Tishrei would be the second day. Though it is 2 days, though, another peculiarity of Rosh Hashanah is that the rabbis refer to it as a Yoma Arichta. For those whose Aramaic is a little rusty, that means a long day. Ultimately, because of the confusion, the rabbis consider Rosh Hashanah to be a 48-hour day. Even though it is 2 days on the calendar, we light candles separately on both days, and so it continues in this space of a conundrum. Friends, this is a dark time in so many ways. You don't need me to list the troubles that we are facing. And Rosh Hashanah is a celebration, even if its origins and purpose remain a little mysterious to this day. But I would submit to all of us that it is harder to find our bearings in the darkness as opposed to the light. And so there's something truly magical about beginning this, quote, new year in darkness. And I think if we are very fortunate, we should relish the 2 days. It's like a gift of time from the sages. A 2-day celebration, especially one that leads right into Shabbat, so it is in effect a 3-day celebration, maybe is exactly the thing that our world and each of us needs right now. Instead of thinking of, in conservative and Orthodox communities, we have to celebrate Rosh Hashanah for 2 days, how about saying we get to celebrate Rosh Hashanah for 2 days? It is a truly luxurious feeling. We all want and need more time. Generally, when we say, it's been a long day, and the last few years have been sometimes feeling like one long day. But a long day is not usually such a positive thing when we maybe collapse at the end of a long and strenuous period of many hours. Instead, how about celebrating a long day? What might we do if we were given more time, a 48-hour day, more time to look for light and hope, more time to savor the good, find the hope we need? Enjoy this long and beautiful day that stretches over 48 hours, this Yoma Arichta that the sages gifted to us is a long, beautiful day to look for all of the light we can find in this darkness of the new moon and in this difficult passage. May this long day be the first of many upon which we search and find the peace that we need. Shana Tova, friends. Enjoy the Yoma Arichta, the long day, for everything that it is worth. Please be well and safe.